What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. So this is going to be a video following up my previous video about ADS bloom. So this is an effect where the bullet basically doesn't go exactly where your crosshair is on the screen. This is sort of a realistic effect that would really be in the real world because guns aren't always perfectly accurate with where the reticle is. But obviously I'm not advocating for COD to be a super realistic game. I don't care about that. But anyway, we're going to talk about ADS bloom. Basically it's like a small hipfire cone that's effective even when you're ADS'd. It's never been in COD games before. The only one it's been in is Call of Duty Mobile. It's been in Battlefield games forever. It was in Fortnite. It's been in a lot of different games, but this is the first time it's ever been in a mainstream COD game. So after discovering that, I went and I measured every single weapon in the game, as well as how the attachments affect that ADS bloom, and that's what this video is going to be about. I'm going to show you all the stats and how everything affects all the different weapons. So if you like the content, consider dropping a subscription and a like and a comment on the video, but let's get into it and we will talk about the ADS bloom effect in Vanguard. Okay, so like I said in the intro, you saw in the background there, I was measuring the ADS bloom from a specified distance. It was probably about 30-40 meters. It doesn't exactly matter how far I actually was. All that matters is that I was doing it from the same distance every time, and that is, I made sure I was doing that. Basically, I mounted on a wall and took about 15 shots per weapon in the same exact spot, probably within about a 20 pixel by 20 pixel radius of error for me, just for my aim. My aim's not perfect. There's a little bit of aim sway, so it wasn't perfect, but much smaller than the actual bloom amount was the error. So no issues there with the measurements. But basically what we're going to do is go gun by gun and talk about the bloom amount in the X and the Y and the average, because I think it's most likely just a square of bloom or a circle of bloom where it's just randomized, just like hipfire is. But I measured X and Y just so I could get a good average there. Since I didn't take that many shots, it's not perfect data. It's just reasonably good data. So we're gonna start out with ARs here. I've got the STG, I don't know how to say this, automaton maybe, the burst gun, the bar, the AS44, NZ41, and the Volkssturmgewehr. Nailed it. So you can see there's like basically three different sizes here. The AS44 and the I'm gonna call it the Volk, both are up around 400 pixels for the bloom at that certain distance. And that's about 3 times higher than the burst was, the bar, and the NZ, as well as the STG. I think these probably were all effectively the same. There was just a little bit of error in the measurements because I didn't shoot 100 bullets in the same spot. I only shot about 15, so it's not gonna be perfect. It's kind of like measuring hipfire because it really acts the same as hipfire. But the automaton was the smallest at 73, so that's about half the size of those middle ones. So overall, it's interesting that they seem to fit into like 3 categories so far. We have one around 70 pixels, one group around 140 pixels, and then one group around 400 pixels. So scrolling down, looking at SMGs, MP40, Sten, M1928, the Owen gun, the Type 100, and the PPSH are on here. So you can see overall SMGs are much worse than the ARs were on average, but again, they fit sort of into those categories. So the MP40, the Sten, and the M1928 all are in that sort of like 400 pixel category. PPSH was a little bit higher. The highest one in the whole game was PPSH at 481. Again, that could have just been some error in measurement. It could still be the same as the MP40 and the Sten, but just worth pointing out that it did measure a little bit higher in my tests. And then the Type 100 and the Owen gun were kind of that middle grouping around 140 pixels, so they're actually more like most of the ARs as far as the bloom goes. Looking at LMGs, LMGs had a very small amount of bloom, so 3 of them fit into the 140 pixel category: the MG42, the DP27, the Type 11, and then the Bren had fantastic bloom. Very small amount of bloom, only 37 pixels. And like I said, I think my average aim was probably an error of about 20 pixels, so you can tell this is just really small. Scrolling down, looking at marksman rifles and sniper rifles. So M1 Garand, SVT, and G43 are the marksman rifles. They all were about that same as pretty similar to the Bren, where it was 37 pixels. So this is another category, I think, where this is going to have the same stats. I think there's just a little bit of measurement error again. So the 3 marksman rifles are all extremely accurate. They don't really need accuracy attachments to hit your shots, especially within 50 meters. I mean, if I had to estimate, I'd say these 50 pixels is probably about an inch. So at that 40 meter range that I was shooting these, the average that you're off by where your crosshair is about an inch left to right or up to down. So it's really a really small amount at 40 meters. Obviously, that's going to multiply as you go out. So at 80 meters, it'd be twice that. It'd be 2 inches of variation. So it's going to start to matter at longer ranges, even with the marksman rifles. Sniper rifles were all basically perfectly accurate. So they were all within what I would say my margin for error was as far as how accurate I could actually shoot when I was testing this. They were all at that like 20 pixel margin. The Kar 98 was the smallest, but again, these were all so small that pretty much I'm going to say they were just hitting the same spot over and over, and that was just my inaccuracy causing the difference there. So obviously the next question that comes to mind is, how do attachments affect this? So I took the gun that had one of the worst, it was basically that worst category, around 400 and 450 pixels of ADS bloom, which was the M1928, and then I measured it with in-game. These are listed as accuracy. There's plus accuracy, and like I said, it's not in the detailed stats. This is something separate. It's not even listed in detailed stats. But this accuracy number appears to be directly correlated to how big the ADS bloom is. So I used a muzzle brake, which was 1 accuracy. I used an F8 stabilizer, which was 2 accuracy points. I used the ragdoll stock, which was 3 accuracy points. And then I basically maxed out the accuracy with every attachment I could find that would help it. And that came out to 9 accuracy points. So if you do all the math on this, you can see as I increased the accuracy points, basically direct correlation, the average pixels of the ADS bloom was reduced as well, all the way down to basically sniper level when I had it max accuracy. So you can make all these guns have essentially no ADS bloom if you stack all the accuracy attachments. But if you don't stack all of them, you're not quite going to get there with the worst guns. If you work out the math for this, basically each one, if you assume a 25% reduction for each point of accuracy, it comes out really accurate. So 1 point of accuracy, I measured 24% reduction for assuming 25%, obviously that's 1% off. If you assume 25% reduction with 2 accuracy points and you do the multiplication there, you come out to 44% reduction. And my measured amount was 38%. 3 points of accuracy comes out to 58% reduction. I measured 47%. And then 9 points of accuracy is 92%, and I measured 95%. So really, I'm pretty sure 1 point of accuracy does roughly 25%, probably 23 to 25% reduction in your ADS bloom. Just something to keep in mind. We'll put this on the website eventually, but it's not there yet. I also wanted to check to see if recoil control had anything to do with this. So I built the M1928 with max recoil control and no accuracy, and that's what this came out here. So it came out 274. So this is actually like the same as having 2 accuracy points. So that could mean 2 things. That could mean some of the recoil control attachments do actually affect this, and recoil control has an effect on it, or it could also mean that this is just a hidden stat that we don't know for sure what attachments are going to affect it. I'm leaning more towards that direction because a lot of these things have a lot of complicated stats behind the scenes that we don't know about, and we already know this accuracy stat is not shown in the detailed stats, based on the fact that some guns have plus accuracy and help with this a ton, but nothing shows up in detailed stats when you open the detailed stats page. So most likely just a hidden effect that's not on one of the recoil control attachments that I used. All right, that's all I wanted to cover. Just wanted to go over the actual ADS bloom measurements for every single weapon, so you can come back and refer to this video if you want to know which ones have the best accuracy, out the gate before you put any attachments on there, as well as how attachments stack. So like I said, it's about 25% reduction for each +1 accuracy point you get on your attachments, probably the same in the other direction. So if it's minus accuracy, it's probably a 25% increase in your ADS bloom. But yeah, if you guys found this useful, be sure to drop a sub. I'm working really hard on Vanguard. We'll have all this up as soon as we possibly can on TrueGameData, but I hope you found this interesting and useful, and I'll see you all in the next video.